Seems a little clearer this morning. That purple heron just got her breakfast. Maybe it's not focused in enough for you to see, but just over there. Disappeared out of my view now. I lost track. Maybe it is the one that's over there in the lower branches. There. No, that's a cormorant, isn't it? No, it's a purple heron, that's the one. Good. So people, we've got amazing wisdom today in all three readings. We could even say that it's making space for others. And the big other is actually God. Wow, there's fish jumping there. Let's see if that was twice. Let's see if they do it again. Exactly. I hope I'm on the camera now. Yeah, just jumped. That fish just jumped over there. I just love to see fish jumping. Making space for others. Making space for others. Making space for God. Because sometimes we fill all the space. And that's not very wise. Because we become the only reference point. And it's actually incredibly delightful to be in the company of people who make space for others. And especially when they make space for us, to tell our joke, to laugh at our joke, to listen to us, to smile at us. They're saying, you are here, you have your space, I respect it, I cherish you. To make space for others. Even if it's a small little narrow space there. You know, between the two big dark trees. But when we come in and want to fill all the space, it becomes a problem. And I think this isn't about picking up stones to throw at other people who take all the space. This is about really thinking, what space do I take in life? And I must say that I am so thankful to my dad. And I've mentioned this little story a lot of times, but I think they say pedagogy is very helped by good repetition. Timely repetition. Because life is a lot about processing principles into reality. Recognizing that actually that's true. And that's the establishment then of great conviction. We need strong convictions because a lot of circumstances change, and if we don't have strong convictions, then we're kind of struggling to reinvent the wheel every time about life and its meaning. And if we occupy all the space, we control everything. We're a dictator. The dictators have that problem because they're the only ones, and they don't see the little flowers that are coming out. That's actually the title of a wonderful little saint who passed away at 24 years of age, The Little Flower. Very interesting story. And in fact, her little book is read by millions. because she actually, just thinking of it now, she's one who lives by that kind of principle. And because she occupies little space, small space, you need a 75,000 square foot home. The problem with that is you have an awful lot of dusting to do and cleaning floors. And, you visit even the archaeology, the rooms in the houses we found here in Magdala, they're small compared to what people have nowadays. Because you need a special desk for your computer, and you need another special desk for writing, and you need another special desk for this and for that. And we need so many things. I'm going to try and straighten the camera a little bit. I'm always dissatisfied when it's not straight enough. And it's not straight, simply. I'm not sure if this will do it better. Let me see if I can. It's a little bit skewed for my liking. I don't know if that's better. I think it's a tad better, but still it's not enough. And I don't know why, because that's my finger there. I think if it takes one setting, it's kind of figures that has to be the setting. That's a little bit better. We live with it. So we're not in charge of anything, except one thing. And there's actually a line there at the end of the reading from James, letter so rich in wisdom, and it says, if you know the right thing and you don't do it, that's a big problem. And if you know that you don't need all that big space, scale down, leave space for others. Share the space with others. Maybe that's an issue also it's a very complex issue. There are many aspects, so I'm not providing any infallible solution here. But in the Western world that has chosen not to have many children, and it finds itself with many door knocks from places that have and are blessed with a lot of children. Because human beings are the greatest reality in the physical universe. There's absolutely no question about this. This is ancient wisdom that says one human being is worth more than the entire universe. That guy's flying really fast. Another one right after. And if a human being is the greatest value, then we need to make space for human beings. The greatest good is another human being. And if we remember yesterday's readings, then the way God himself identifies with a human being, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me, then that augments immensely the importance of every human being. Each human being is wider than the ocean, so I need to make space for them. Maybe the way it is then that we need to make space for the others, but it's very wise for us to reduce our own space. And one place where we have very little space is controlling the universe, because the universe was there before us and it has its laws. And time passes and we can't put on the brakes. We're not going to stop the sun rising. And one day the sun will rise and we won't. I had a great conversation the other day with a man who's actually, I would say he figures that atheism is the right way to think. And I wouldn't attribute any negative judgment to him in that regard, because but the interesting thing is he thinks a lot about death. And he reads some philosophers that write about death, and he's aware of that his life is short. He's about 50. So he has lived half a century. In some aspects, he's very, very wise. We even talked about the resurrection. He's of Jewish culture. And the ancient Jewish texts have budding thoughts about the resurrection. So on the one hand, while we say our life is short, on the other hand, the thoughts of resurrection are also very important. But the story about my dad is interesting, you know, when we were walking out in a field like this, you know, these green fields in Ireland. We were counting the sheep, and I said to Daddy, well, look here, the grass in this field is very, very meager. We need to change the sheep tomorrow over to another field over there where it's greener. And Daddy said, God willing, amen. God willing. I notice when the pilgrims come here, it kind of irritates me, to be very frank. But it's a nice thing. They notice that the Arab-speaking people have a word that impresses them very much and actually feels liberating. It could also be an expression of wishful thinking, but they say they say inshallah. And they think this is a great contribution from Islam. But actually, it's in St. James's letter. In the text we have today. So that's 700 years or 600 years earlier. And I learned that from my dad. And I'd say, Dad, look, the grass is really bad over here. You see, no grass not growing anymore. Then we need to reseed this field next year to plow it and to... It usually took a couple of years, you know, you'd sow a couple of crops and freshen up the soil and reseed with grass in the last year, usually under a crop of oats or cereal, barley or wheat or something. And then you'd have, it'd take another 1 or 2 years for that grass to really mature and be strong. And it was a great experience watching that process. But he would say to me, God willing, amen. I learned since I was very small that I don't control tomorrow. How much a child needs to learn that? We had a wonderful experience yesterday. A couple was visiting in Magdala. And I was just going into Dignitas for a moment of prayer. I just said hello. And they came, they wanted to talk a little bit. And exactly 1 year ago yesterday, they got married in Dignitas. So it was very nice. We had a wonderful conversation. And the ups and downs of life that come and go, most of the things that happen we can't control. They happen. Maybe they're the fault of others or whatever. That's another story. But that's the condition in which I'm living at the moment. Another family yesterday, and they have a very big challenge with a child. And there was a time they didn't know about that challenge. But the way things evolved and happened, that challenge then emerged. So we can't know all the challenges we have tomorrow in our health, in the economy. And we had 2 very big wake-up experiences of that here. Worldwide, for the case of COVID, that came upon us so suddenly. And then it came upon us October 7th, which is such a disaster, such tragic, unspeakable violence. And we were going gangbusters here. It was really going wonderfully with pilgrims and so many pilgrims. Yesterday we had some tour agents here who would be bringing many, many, many people. And they were visiting, and we were talking about that, about how to rebuild confidence for people to come. But from one day to another, the government ministry orders everybody out for COVID and for after October 7th. And everybody had to leave. We didn't control that. Somebody has an accident and dies. That person's a member of a family. Now a spouse has passed away. A dad has passed away. A mom has passed away. We can't control. And to live with the great wisdom, and when we're believers, we have great company and comfort in it. God willing, if God wills. And one of the great riches of Christian culture historically is the ability to have transformed the attitudes of peoples with this wisdom. But that takes living then. It takes living, because we can also lose that wisdom. People can exercise great self-control. That's what we have to control. We can't control the others. Not even the dictators can totally control their people. They try to. Cause a lot of suffering in the process. The dictator at work. But we can control ourselves. We can have a wonderful acquired dominion over our reactions. Not suppressing, but elevating, transcending, sublimating. Somebody is very disturbing, to say a prayer for them. Lord, take care of this person. Somebody is very, very ill. Entrust them to God, obviously, to do the things we're supposed to do, especially according to our own responsibilities. If it's a parent of a child, they really have a responsibility to see what can be done. But at the same time, trusting in God. One of the stories I tell about Magdala, it's usual when somebody guides people in Magdala to tell all the story about the archaeology, explain it, and the art in Ducum Altum and so forth. But there are actually two other very big stories that normally don't get told. And one of them is the story of divine providence in how it all came about. And nobody could have sat down at a table and made a plan for all the incredible richness and wealth of gifts that were given in many, many ways. Not just the material gifts, the donors who provided financial means to develop the project, but the artists, the architects, and also many other conditions, technical people, the workers, so many other aspects, the inspirations. We often think that we are the cause of our inspirations, but I think we need to reduce our space there too. Most of it comes from through the influence of many others, the books we have read, people we met, the teachers we had, our own parents, of course, in the first place, and then the inspiration of God. Even all the poets, in ancient times talked about the muses. So much is given to us. Pure gift. And then the second story that's not told at Magdala, and there's not really enough time to tell it all, especially if a group only has a half an hour to do the visit, is the impact it's having on people. And then in this process, I'd just like to ask you for a little prayer for a family of the artist Maria Jesus Ortiz de Fernandez. Her husband Juan was very ill for a number of years and was called to eternal life a few days ago. And just for those who might have met her here when they were here, when she was doing all the artwork, and for those who might know her, just to know that about her son built the boat altar, and that couple did so much to make Magdala happen. Again, they're probably purely people of great faith, and they would say, well, I didn't do it, it was the grace of God working in me. Isn't that beautiful when people say the grace of God working in me? That's wise. Actually, life runs through us like this stream. A stream of goodness, of understanding, of caring, of intelligence, of brilliance, of light, of comfort. All that runs through me. I'm not the fountain of it. I participate in handing it on. The great word tradition. Tradition has actually a number of meanings depending on the context the word is in. You could have traditional dress and the traditional way that this company operates, or the traditional branding. But traditional simply means handing on. Handing on, and that's very big in the Judeo-Christian faith. We received blessings and we hand them on. We didn't make the blessings, we didn't originate them, we don't control them, but we do hand them on. What a beautiful way to live. I didn't cover everything in the readings today, but no material things can give us security in life, and that's another thought that's very strong in the readings. So the big place we need to give is to God in our lives, and also a big place to everybody else who's in our lives, in our family. And that's a wise way to live. Thank you, people, for listening. We're all part of a great mystery, a great plan, a great enterprise of the Lord. See you later, alligators. God bless you. Be happy. Don't try to control everything. It'll work out tomorrow, inshallah. God willing. God makes that happen. God makes a lot of things happen. That He's a God of surprises. And it's actually He does everything for our good, which is an extraordinary reality. We're not the victims of His caprices. We're the beneficiaries of His wonderful goodwill. See you later, people, at the latest in heaven.